bro, Cox, how much time you got left? I would say, I got like 10 years, but somebody might fuck up and tell me where there's a body buried, and I'll be out of here next week. And they would, God damn, bro. Man, it's like that. I said, yeah, it's exactly like that. I didn't come here to be friends. I'm not here for the stay. And then I would walk off. I've told him. He just told me where he hid Ponzi scheme money. But I remember thinking, that's not enough. Like, they don't want to give me anything anyway. My prosecutor hates my guts. They're not going to give me anything for that. And I don't even think they'll indict this guy for that. They gave him 19 years already. 19 and a half years. I was like, all right. I didn't do anything until a month or so later. I actually had to order my transcripts because I was still working on my book. So I called my lawyer and said, hey, I need you to order my transcripts. You said you sent them to me. Yeah, okay, I'm going to get to them. She says, everything else okay? I went, what do you mean? She says, anything else happening? I went, no, she goes, I think she was afraid I was going to file a 2255 on her. She said, so you're happy with the result? You're happy with it? I said, no, I'm good. And I went, I said, actually something did happen. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you this. And I tell her, boom, boom, boom. What do you think? And she goes, let me look into it. And I go, okay, hang up the phone. A week later, I get a CO says, Cox, come here. I go, what's up? He goes, you got to go to SIS. And I went, fuck. Now keep in mind, I went to SIS. I've been there a bunch of times because I would get, if I'm doing if I'm writing a story on you, I would order a freedom of information on you. So I would get your transcripts and I would get a freedom of information. I get all your police report, everything. They would mail them to me. And a lot of times, so your paperwork's coming in to me. And so SIS would get it and they'd go, what, you ordered this guy's transcripts, you ordered this is his motions, does he know you're getting this? And I went, yeah. He goes, and they go, you writing a story on him? And I go, yeah. And they go, okay, so if I call him in here, he's going to be okay with this? I go, call him. And they started saying, look, just have the shit mailed to these guys directly and they'll give it to you. And that would happen. Also, I do that too. But sometimes I wrote the story and the guy left, so I'm still getting stuff in. And they would just give it to me. Eventually they go, all right, I know what you're doing here. They give it to me. Or they have the guy come and get it and go hand it to me. The point is that, so when I went in, I thought it was about paperwork. Like I thought maybe the guy's transcripts had shown up. Well, I walk in, there's a CO there with SIS. He goes, come here, sit down. I'm like, oh shit, this isn't it. So he dials the phone and he goes, hold on. He goes, you got to talk to this guy. Pick up the phone, Secret Service agent. Hey, this is Secret Service agent Tom Griffin. I understand that you know a guy named Ron Wilson. I understand he's hidden Ponzi scheme money. And I went, whoa. I said, I know a little something, but I don't think it's much. And I'm not going to tell you anything until I get a letter saying you guys will consider it substantial assistance and reduce my sentence. So call my U.S. attorney. Hang up the phone. I get a letter from them. I get an email from them. Eventually, I sign up on email with the guy. He emails a thing from the government saying, we'll consider it substantial assistance and reduce your sentence. Great. He then talks to me. I said, look, this is what the guy told me. He told me his brother. He told me the wife that he's divorcing. Okay, they call both them in. The wife shows up with like $350,000 in cash and gold and silver, all kinds of shit that she had. The brother shows up with $150,000 in cash. It's like $500,000. Not what he had told me. And so the brother ends up, they both get probation. No, actually they actually had to do like community service. Like one of them got less than a year probation. They're not a felon. The other one got, she had to do probation. She had to do community service. So they grab Wilson though, go back. He gets 6 months added onto his sentence. So he gets 6 months. So I'm thinking I'm not getting anything for that. I'm not going to give me anything for that. He got 6 months. And of course he writes a letter back to his old cellie saying that when he got moved and got back to South Carolina to be resentenced, that, hey, I got my discovery in. Cox did this. Cox said this. Cox said this. Cox. So that letter is being passed around the compound.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of pedophiles.
Bunch of pedophiles and shit.
Shit.
No, nobody's going to do anything. I'm not worried about it. So, as a matter of fact, when I heard about the letter, I had a couple guys come to me and say, "Hey, bro, this is fucked up. Like this letter's going around and this and this." And I'm like, "Okay." And they said, yeah, he mailed it back to his old cellie. He's got the letter he's passing around. So I went to his old cellie and I said, listen, let me explain something. I said, if you show one more person that fucking letter, And I keep getting these guys fucking coming to me saying this. I said, I'm going to go in and I'm going to talk to the lieutenant and they're going to ship you to FCC Baghdad. And then nobody's ever going to hear from you again. I said, so quit trying to give me a fucking hard time. You know? That guy was actually in there for a Ponzi scheme too, and he had cooperated against everybody. So it's like, quit fucking trying to play a gangster. I know you cooperated. He's like, well, I'm sorry, Cox. It's just, I was like, whatever, bro. So I leave. So what happens is, once again, the U.S. attorney comes back and he says, they say they're not going to reduce my sentence for it. It's not enough. The guy got 6 months. The other two people aren't even felons. I'm not going to reduce your sentence for that. So I go back to Frank. Frank files paperwork, forces the government. Oh, by the way, when the government comes back, they first say they never promised me they were going to consider. So they said, one, we don't know anything about this. Never promised anybody anything. Never this, never that. So I have to mail the letter to the judge saying, look, this is what they said. Judge then says, what's going on? I want to give this guy a lawyer. Then they give me a lawyer. Then the U.S. attorney comes back and says, okay, we'll reduce your sentence. Frank argues for about 3 months and gets 3 levels knocked off my sentence, which is 5 years. I basically had about 18 months before I walked out the door. And in that time, I kept writing. So I kept writing these guys' stories. And keep in mind, too, all these guys know this. Like, it's all around the compound. You know, I mean, I'm getting a dirty look here or there and a crack here or there, but that's it. Nobody's saying anything. Nobody's saying anything, but 90% of the guys in there cooperated. So if you do the math, 50% sex offenders out of 1,800 guys, out of 2,000 guys, 50% is sex offenders. The other 1,000, 90 to 95% cooperated. You divide that up per unit. It's about 5 guys per unit that did not cooperate, and you can tell who they are because they all went to trial. Those are the only guys that went to trial. So, you know, you're going to give me a little bit of a hard time, but if you cooperated, how hard of a time are you going to give me? Not that much. So no, I didn't get that hard of a time. And guys are coming to me saying, hey, can you write my story? So I'm collecting these guys' stories. You look, I understand. You look absolutely disgusted.
What was the name of this facility?
Coleman.
Oh, so this was Coleman the low.
Yeah.
Because you were at the medium first.
Yeah.
And then you went to the low. And so some of these guys both of them, like you said, majority, like some of these guys you wrote that probably could have been
half. I think it's like, well, oh no, I wrote about 18, 19 stories for guys in that compound. You know, and books. I wrote about 6 books for guys on the compound, and got a book deal. Published a bunch of Amazon books based on these guys. Same thing. I mean, I've been dealing with, you know, so what ends up happening is I get out of, I was just thinking I can imagine what the comments are just based on your facial expression, how upset you are right now. Look, I understand you're disgusted by it, you're irritated, you're upset. I understand. But I mean, look, I'm just not willing to just not own up to what happened. Mm-hmm. It's just the way, that's just what happened. That's the way it is. And I'm you know, I didn't want to do an extra 10 or 12 years. So I got let out last year, 2019, and I immediately started trying to get these guys' stories turned into films. Try to get them optioned. I've gotten the stories narrated, put them on my YouTube channel, put them on my website. I've got photographs of the guys, contacted producers.
Did any of these guys have anything to do with kids?
No, I've never done any story on a sex offender. Absolutely not. First of all, you know, they're just weirdos. They're looking at stuff on the computer and
not to say that, you know, a murderer or a gang member or a bank robber is somebody that should be congratulated, but that other stuff, man.
The difference is that, you know, and I'm not judging anyone. What I'm saying is, I can understand, you know, and this is a horrible thing to say. I can understand the mentality of being in a bad spot and robbing a bank. Does it make sense? I can understand being raised in the projects and everybody around you selling drugs. And so what do? You start selling drugs. I mean, that's what you know. I can see that. I can't understand, you know, a guy looking at a child and being turned on.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. But I'm not. Look, I'm not. But whatever. It's none of my. Whatever's happening. Whatever, bro. I mean, I'm not.
So now you're actually you're out. You're doing the book stuff now, and you're working on some other stuff. You say you're still trying to.
I mean, that's what I've been doing for the past year. I mean, I keep stay humble, keep my bills low. I've done, I was in the halfway house. I got out of the halfway house. I did a podcast, the guy on concrete. It went viral. It got like 1.5 million hits or something right away. And I got like 1 million hits like in like 2 months. And then I think it's at 1.5, 1.6, something like that. Another one got like a couple million hits. I've done a couple other podcasts. I've been writing stories. I've got, I almost had before COVID, I thought I had a deal with Blumhouse Productions. That fell apart. But what Blumhouse liked, by the way, this is what I was going to say, is they liked the fact that I had the guy's life rights connected to the stories. Like they were like, this is, I sent them the paperwork. They were like, this is great. You had a great insight knowing how important, that this was important. So I was going through the motions with them, and then COVID happened. I had a couple documentaries that were supposed to be done on a couple of the guys that that I've written their stories.
So overall, man, what if a viewer's at home trying to take something from us, what would you give as far as advice? Because it's apparent, man, that a lot of people, especially today, it's not the same as far as when I grew up. And a lot of people, as far as just wanting to hurry up and get a quick dollar, or feel that, there is no harm done. And, where somebody has a gun or you have a piece of a pen and a paper, the damage is still, and I own up to everything I've done, just like the next man. I mean, there's still harm done. People wiped out, an old person lose their money. I mean, dude, they're sitting in a home, they're broke. What are they going to do? They're homeless now. So what advice would you give to somebody who thinks that it's okay, and then at the end of the day, well, if you fall down, just tell on 10 people and go home?
Yeah, I think the last question was basically that you get caught, and then you go out, you do a bunch of crime or something, and you get caught, and then you tell on everybody to try and get out of it. That was basically, I think, your point.
I mean, just advice, because a lot of people, especially today, man. I mean, there's no people feel there's no consequence. There's always a way out. And if you're reaping the benefits of something, I mean, it's like you have to realize, and what I try to stress to people when I tell my story is that it wasn't the bank robbery, it was the mentality I have. So if I were to try to tell a young person what would kind of, dissuade them from taking the path I did, what other options, you got to somehow put it in the sense that, man, at the end of the day, you have to own up to all this stuff, and you can't just keep, saying that, hey, I can always get out of it and throw 10 other people under the bus or whatever the case may be, because you're the one who made that choice to live up and enjoy whatever it is you were doing and take part in that. So I'm saying, like, advice-wise, how would you explain that? And given the opportunity, would you say that, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, there's certain things you have to own up to.
I mean, I think that I owned up. Look, the difference is owning up to it, in my opinion, owning up to it and saying nothing and not cooperating with the authorities to clear their case and make sure that everyone's brought to justice. I think that's two different things. I know what I did. I absolutely know what I did. I'm more than willing to say this is exactly what I did, and how it affected people. Just like, we were talking.
So saying, you're saying own it up, but I'm saying as far as advice, but like you're saying brought to justice, how, if you got caught and this guy's over here still getting paper, but you maybe did a business with him, but you don't actually, he's not actually the one who got caught, but he's enjoying his life and it has nothing to do with you. Now, by you telling on him, is that being brought to justice? Because
who's
just a hypothetical person. I'm talking about like a third person. If you were telling somebody else from the street and they got caught and you're saying, to own up to it and bring somebody to justice, but this person over here who's a neighbor, maybe, for instance, they might have did something, but it's totally unrelated to what you got going. If you tell on them, is that considered being brought to justice? And for your benefit, because it helps you get a downward departure?
Well, I don't see that there's any reason for me not to get a downward departure, since the person's the person's getting in trouble anyway. I think a decent...
He didn't get in trouble, though. I'm saying hypothetically, if that person didn't get in trouble, he's enjoying their life, and you go and decide to throw them into your mix. Now they're under investigation even when they weren't even on the radar. Do you feel that's justified?
So you're saying someone is committing a crime.
They're not, but a crime, it doesn't matter. It could be everybody. Somebody could be committing a crime, but he has nothing to do with you. You got caught.
Right.
He's living his life. Now, whether he's hustling or not, you might have had an assumption, but you now point the finger at him because maybe at a dinner engagement, he mentioned something, and you're like, "Fuck, I'm in a hot position." So, let me tell on old Ted here. Ted, remember, told me that one time he did this and that. Would you say that that's justified? And would you tell the person on the street to tell on Ted, even though Ted didn't get caught, you did?
I mean, I know the answer that you want, and I know the position I've been in.
You would tell on Ted.
Bro, I got 26 years for filling out some paperwork. I don't give a fuck about Ted. Ted don't give a fuck about me. Then I'm a scumbag. I'm a scumbag. Rat, scumbag, snitch. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking doing all my fucking...
So basically, you're saying that nobody can really be your friend at the end of the day because you would be a piece of shit to that person. You're saying that because Ted was a good dude. You ate at his house. His kids played with your kids. You're saying that you would tell on Ted. So really, at the end of the day, you have no friends. You're only out for yourself. You have no loyalty. You get caught. Yeah, because you're saying Ted, he was living his life. You guys used to go to pool parties together. But you would throw him under the bus because you got caught up and Ted didn't get caught because he wasn't involved in your thing. So you're saying nobody can really be your friend then. Because at the end of the day, it's all about you. You would throw anybody under the bus to save your ass. That's what you're saying, bro. You would do it. It could be your mom. It could be your sister. If you could get out, you said you would throw Ted. He was cool with you. You guys hung out together.
This is a horrible no-win scenario for
no,
me.
Because you give an honest. If that's your honest answer, you're letting everybody know that you would throw anybody under the bus for save your own ass. That means you can never be a true to anybody outside of yourself. Because if it came down to it, you would throw that motherfucker under the bus.
This is a horrible interview, bro.
But is that what you're saying?
It's going all wrong.
I'm just asking you a question, man, because I'm trying to get that in my mind.
I mean, I get it. You're getting really upset about
No,
this.
I'm not getting upset. I'm just asking you an honest question because I'm just saying, I'm asking you for advice to people out here, but you're saying if this Ted is committing a crime.
I would say don't commit a crime.
It doesn't, dude, he's hustled, whatever, but you happen to hear about it. So if you happen to even hear an inclination, you would be like, well, I remember one time Ted told me you would do that.
I don't understand your whole story.
It's a hypothetical situation, but at the end of the day, you're not being. Just be honest with the camera. You said that you would tell.
I am.
You would tell on Ted.
I just said that.
You would tell on Ted.
I mean, I probably would. Yeah, I'd probably.
So you would tell the people on the street if they get in a situation,
I think most of them are. I think if you look at the statistics, that 80. I think it's 80. I actually had the federal sentencing guideline statistics.
We already know the feds is a piece of shit. We already know we've been through the system. I'm just saying, moving forward, you would tell people, man, do what you have to do to get out the situation at the end of the day. That's what you would tell them, rather than say, you know what, eat your medicine. You know what I mean? You got caught up. You would just say, man, throw whoever you have to under the bus to get out.
You know that the feds will give you 50 years and not even think twice. You're saying take the 50 years?
I'm saying the bottom line, you don't notice the guy has nothing to do with your case. You're the one who got caught.
He's a criminal. He's committing crimes.
So you're the police now. You become the police from a criminal, from you hustling, doing what you're doing. I'm just saying, not saying right now because you already went through your time. I'm saying say we're talking to this guy, from him hustling, doing whatever he's doing. This guy, he just happened in passing, but now he's going to try to throw this guy under the bus because his case, which is unrelated to what this guy's lifestyle is, he should go and just start pointing the finger at any and everybody he thinks that he maybe ever seen at a Chinese restaurant that he thought was selling drugs or doing whatever they're doing. Just start telling to get out.
I mean, honestly, I don't know exactly what the situation is. You're telling me what the situation is. I'm telling you what my basic answer is, given that very narrow situation where I don't see that you've got a choice. I think mostly what happens, and that, 80% of drug dealers.
I know guys who got life sentence, who got pardons. They did time, but they didn't tell on nobody. I
know guys that got life sentence and that Obama pardoned them.
Yeah, I know some too.
Yeah, and listen, and they didn't either, and they got life sentences and just took it. Matter of fact, I know a guy that got a life sentence, did like 10 years in the pen before Obama cut his sentence, and he had 5 more years to go. And while he was there, the wife left him which he didn't want to tell on, by the way. That's the person he didn't want to tell on. They said, no, you're going to cooperate against your wife. Didn't tell on her. Went to prison. Wife leaves him, starts sleeping with his best friend. His best friend stops talking to him, also involved in his meth conspiracy. All the people that were involved in his meth conspiracy that he wouldn't tell on, and he was going to get a life sentence. Thank God Obama came and cut his sentence. But the fact is, he didn't cooperate against any of those people, and he got a life sentence. He would have just died in prison. How many people do you know that just died in prison? They didn't cooperate because they thought, these are the people that I love and I care about. But the truth is, when they went to prison, those people
I didn't get a visit in prison. Don't mean that I got to sit around and start getting mad at everybody else for my actions. I'm not saying being in a position you got to do what you feel. But at the end of the day, all I'm saying is that when people who are out there, and this is my advice to all you guys out there. If you're out there and you're doing shit, you're thinking you're living a good life, look, man, don't put yourself in a position where you're going to have your back against the wall like that.
Obviously, listen, there's always different perspectives. I understand your perspective. I understand what you're saying, and I understand coming from your perspective, I see what you're saying. Okay? You're saying basically take your lumps. Take it, just you did the crime, do the time, that whole thing. Okay? Based on the prisons that I've been in and the people that I've had to deal with, I had no friends. And being in the prisons that I've been in, from the medium to all the lows, none of those guys had friends. Everybody was ditching them left and right. Everybody was turning on it. Everybody was cutting each other's throats. So do I want to do 26 years when I know everybody's cut my throat that I know, and everybody's cutting each other's throats left and right? And do I want to get 5 years knocked off my sentence for cutting a guy's throat that's already cooperating against multiple people? I mean, the truth is, in that situation, yes. The thing is about that situation, I didn't call my attorney right away. I remember thinking, they're not going to give me anything, and that's not a big deal, and it doesn't really matter. I only got 7 or 8. I had like 9 more years left, 8 more years left, whatever. So I didn't say anything right away. I just happened to mention to it, and it all kind of fell into place. The point is that, you can come up with whatever scenario you want, but I'll tell you, and I'll give you an example. I got locked up in the shoe one time. You end up in the shoe for nothing. Like, I've been locked up in the shoe 3 or 4 times, and I didn't do anything. I was in the shoe one time, in the medium, with another guy that had come from the pen. He'd just done like 5 or 10 years in the pen. He'd come from the pen, and he was in the pen, and he'd come to the medium, and we ended up in the shoe together. So we're sitting there talking. I remember his last name was Griffin. So we're talking, and he's on the phone every other day talking to his son, who's growing up without him. His son's fucking up. His son was a big time, was a wrestler. But he'd been suspended for like the next 2 matches because he got into a fight and this and that. And he's on the phone trying to raise his son from prison. And he's talking to the mother, and they're back and forth, and he starts telling me what's going on with the son and this and that. He's like, yeah. And he's telling me, yeah, he got whatever he got. He got 20 years or something, I forget. But he'd done like 10. And the kid's mother, who's with another guy already, the kid's mother is telling him, I know about this and this and this. I can call the DEA and I can do this and this, and they'll cut your sentence, third party rule 35. So she's telling him this, and he's like, man, she's saying this, and I told her not to do that. I told her not to do that. So he's going on and on, not to do that, not to do that. He's like, well, and I sat there and I said, why? What does it matter? He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, you already told me, like all the guys in your case that you didn't tell on. They've all been busted. They all told on you when they got busted. They tried to get you into another indictment. You ended up doing your time. You ended up doing this, you ended up that. And he's like, right. I said, you tell me. I said, your son right now, when he's with all of his buddies and he's looking up in the stands and all of his buddies' dads are there, do you think when they say, yeah, there's my dad, there's my mom, there's my dad, do you think that when they say that to him that he looks at him and he goes, yeah, well, my dad's in federal prison, but he's a stand-up guy and he's not here? Or do you think he'd rather just say, yeah, my dad's right there?
And he's a rat?
That he's a rat. My buddy's there.
That's just different. I know the guys I did time with. The guys I did time with. I know some hitters. To this day, we're still loyal to each other, man. Nobody would ever cross. I know dudes who would go right now and lay down with me. But it's a different growing up.
But
just like you said,
few, and you're honestly, listen. A lot of the guys that are on your channel, those guys are the exception. They're the exception. Most people are not stand-up guys. Most of them aren't. The statistics alone tell you that.
That's why I said at the end of the day, the advice is don't get yourself involved. If you're thinking that you're going to just skate off and you're dealing with these people, man, just like you said, your best friend told on you. My best friend, man, we've been in so much shit. He never told on me. This dude, man, never told on me, man. Right to this day, if I call him, he'll come out here right now and be out here. Never told, never did anything. We done some crazy shit. But I'm telling them to put it into perspective, for them to listen to your interview at the end of the day, like you said, your best friend told on you. Right. So there's no law, there's no nothing. You have no best friend. There is nobody that really, there's nothing.
Honestly, I don't think I have any friends at all that wouldn't tell on me if something went down.
That's horrible.
Not
bro.
one.
This is the best thing you could take from this interview, you guys. One of the top things is what he just said. And I'm saying you a lot of the business wise, you gave up a lot of good information. I'm just saying, as far as that right there, that's what a lot of these kids need to hear, because that's what's going on. They're constantly getting set up. They're setting themselves up because of society wanting to live out a lifestyle. But like you said, look how quick. It's like you said, all the places you went to, nobody cared. Everybody's out for themselves.
Absolutely. Listen, and as far as you talking about, when we were talking about early about money and stuff, is that like all the money that I ever got, and I've had several $1 million in the bank. The FBI said I bought and sold over 109 houses in Ybor City. And I've had millions, and I've had great cars, and I've had great houses, and I've done all that. Always riddled with anxiety, always constantly concerned about what's happening and who's doing this and who's doing that. Always worried, always sick to my stomach, always it's just a bad situation. Went to prison, dropped all that stuff, started writing, started doing something that I really enjoyed, as opposed to real estate, which I liked, but I liked it because there was a lot of money involved. And started writing and got out, and now I'm doing okay, nothing like I was. I mean, I'm making my bills, but perfectly happy, feel great, don't lie about anything anymore. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna come here and pretend to be something I'm not, or skate over this, or do a quick, I went to prison, got a little bit of time, then filed a couple 2255s and got my sentence reduced, got 12 years knocked off, and then got out, and then I started doing that. I'm not gonna do that. Didn't think this interview was gonna go this way. I thought we were going to talk about me writing, about my stories, about what I'm doing, about the books, about how I'm just a way more happier person now, that I've completely changed my life, that I have a totally different outlook. The reaction, the whole thing, I knew you weren't going to be happy. I've seen the guys you interview. I know, I know that I don't fit in to that mold. I'm not that guy. I'm not even going to pretend to be that guy. I couldn't pretend to be that guy. And, and I knew you weren't going to be happy. Didn't think I was going to get this reaction. I don't think this is the reaction that really does help people on the street. What I think
I didn't know the whole backstory. I mean, it has what you've accomplished, I think, is phenomenal as far as the writing and that aspect of it. And as far as, it's not up for me, because I'm not the Lord Almighty to judge you. But at the same time, I'm just saying, as far as my integrity and how I get down and how the people I mess with, if anybody in my camp, I cannot go to dinner with them. I cannot eat with them. That's just how I am. I don't care. Now, like you said, you didn't expect. I'm just giving you, it's just, this is raw. This is fresh out raw. You know what I mean? But I'm just telling you right now, if he felt I ratted on him, or he couldn't trust me, we would not be friends. If I felt like, my good homeboy at the time, I mean, dude, if they found anything, they would instantly. It changes. I mean, you're no longer worth anything to me.
And I get that. I think my fear is that is a kind of a, you did the whole scenario with the soldier thing. I don't know that you relate one to the other. I don't see that that's a good scenario. But my fear is that the whole prison code, that there's a code, or the whole code of the street thing that honestly, really statistically just doesn't hold up. I just think that's the wrong message to tell anybody, or even to focus on.
My message is, we have to learn that you have to have a backbone in life, the bottom line.
I think don't commit crime.
Don't commit crime, but if you're involved in anything, first of all, don't commit the crime. But the second of all, even if you're not committing a crime, you got to have some stand-up. Dude, it's no different. It's just stand-up, period. It's just, you're saying, like you guys, like you said, you don't even look at crime. You guys are real estate guys. You're having fun doing this. But nobody had no stand-up.
Right.
There's no stand-up. I'm saying, dude.
I don't know anybody that stood up.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying in life, you have to have that. And there's not enough that instilled. Some of these values, whether, when you grow, there's certain things you learn. Like in a neighborhood, like to me, you got a problem, let's go fight. I'm not going to, don't go kill the dude. Get beat up. If you get beat up, punched in the face, that's part of growing up.
Right.
I learned that. I got punched in the face a lot of times. I got hit. That was how I learned how to be on the base. But nobody on the base would tell on each other. You didn't grow up kids. You learned a certain little code. There's certain things, but it's like that to me. There's certain core values. But at the end of the day, no, you shouldn't commit crime. You should be taking a trade, doing something that's going to benefit you. But at the end of it, you still got to stand for your people, man. You got to have some type of backbone. And hey, you gave an honest opinion, and I'm just sharing my honest opinion that the kids need to have that moral code. You can't be a pussy in life as far as when it comes to having your friends back. That's just how life is. There's going to be situations, maybe it might not even be that serious where, you're looking at 50 years, but goddamn, man, you got to stand up for your boy. If that's your boy and you're doing something for him, I mean, you're not going to go to bat for him. If I felt he was in harm, I'd run over there and risk my life, man, to make sure that something, I would, that's just how I am. So committing a crime is one thing, but it's also even just having somebody's back. We got so far away from that in life, man. And I don't understand it. It's like, people are like, well, it's just a value point. But hey, man, I get emotional about stuff like that because this is how I grew up a little bit different. I never had no dad. I didn't have no visits in prison. My mom had me when she was 13, 14. But I learned certain things, just through growing up. But, I hope these kids take your advice, man. And at the end of the day, don't commit no crime, man, so they don't put themselves in that position. I mean, no matter how nonviolent or, just passive, whatever they do may seem, it's just, I just hate to see people put themselves in horrible positions and then got to go through and then, deal with all the connection because it's all energy. It's all connected, man. One way or the other. You think you just, oh man, it goes away. It doesn't. There's a lot of connection, man, just in life, So, that's all I want to add to the back of that, man. And like you said, you felt you did what you had to do. Whether it be Ted or whoever the case may be, you felt you had to do. And the reason I said the soldier scenario was just because it's like, that's part of this. I mean, you sign up for something. And